Last week you had homework. Let's check if you have questions about this homework. Page 3. Do you have questions about page 3? Number 14. While I was in Paris, some of the best food I found, food we will talk about after the midterm, is uncountable. Uncountable nouns are always singular. With one exception, we will talk about that after the midterm. In this case, it is singular. So even though it says some of, because the noun here is uncountable, this should be was. Okay? Other questions about page 3? Yes. Okay, so this should be that I found. It's omitting a that. Yes. And we will talk about that next semester. Other, don't worry about it. Every practice question is a chance to learn. Okay. Other questions about page 3? Moving on, page 4. Do we have questions about page 4? Number 6. Some of the magazine. Okay, in this case, magazine is countable. So because you say some, it should be plural. Some of the magazines. Yes, magazine S, and also it says R, so this should be a plural. Another one is here, 2 years old. Right? It's more than 1 year. Year is countable. Okay. Number 8, subject is countable. So one of means out of many, one. So this should be many. This should be plural. Subjects. Yes. Now, this should be plural, but the actual subject of the sentence is one. So this is correct. Other questions about page 4? Yes. 11. Okay, good. Some nouns look like they are plural, but they're actually singular. The United States is one of these nouns. The United States looks like it's talking about states that are united. So it looks like more than one state, but it is the name of one country. This has changed in history. Before the Civil War of 1861 to 1865, the United States was plural. After the Civil War, to emphasize unity, it was changed to a singular. Yes, yes, but it's the name of one country, so we should think about it as one country. There are other countries like this. For example, the Netherlands, 荷兰. Um, the Here, let me write it for you. The Netherlands. Literally, this translates to the low-lying lands. Nether means low or below. So sometimes in Chinese, we will translate this as 低帝国. But it is the name of one country. So this is also singular. Also things like the United Nations is also singular. You'll notice the Netherlands is a capital T, but United Nations has a lowercase t because the is part of the name of the Netherlands. We also have a series of nouns that are subjects of study. So, for example, mathematics, politics, aesthetics, 美学, all of these are singular. Okay. Okay, good. Other questions about page 4? Yes. Sorry. 9, number 9. Okay. So many different, so this should be plural, right? More than one. Many is more than one. Kinds of insects. Because it is kinds, so the main verb be should be are. This is what we call a null subject sentence. There are, right? There is. But in fact, this grammar should not be too hard to understand. We just have to move things around. So it looks like there are many different kinds. But in fact, what this sentence actually is saying is many different kinds of insects in the world are there. So you can see that this is the subject noun phrase. This is the main verb phrase. And this sentence has no object. Sometimes we write a sentence with there in front because there is no object and the subject is too long. We merely want to emphasize that something is there, something exists. So we put the there is or there are in front so that readers know we're talking about does something exist? Are there things or people there? For this reason, in Chinese, you should translate this as 有. And if you think about 有, this kind of sentence, you should not translate it as there have or have. It should always be there is or there are. Good. Other questions about page 4? Number 12, most of the movie. Good. So in this case, we are talking about one movie. So even though it says most of, this should be considered a percentage or a proportion or a part of one thing. So it should be singular. To give another example, if I said most of the most of the people are asleep. In this case, it should be are because people is plural. Right? So you have more than one person, it is are. But here it is only one movie, so it is takes. Okay, other questions about page 4? Number 4. Okay, healthy hearts is plural, so the need should not have an S. Okay? Okay, other questions about page 4? This one is simple present. It's a general situation. There is no specific time to this, right? It's a general principle. Other questions about page 4? Number 10. Writing compositions. The subject is the action of writing. So it is one action. It should be singular, is. Sorry, I had another question over here. Number 5. Every child in the class. Every means every single one. So it is singular. So it should be knows. So every and all are two different things. All is plural. You're taking it all together. Every is every individual one. You're taking them separately. Okay. Other questions about page 4? Number 7, a number of the students. Okay, so it says a number of, it looks like singular, right? But what we're really talking about is more than one. If there's only one, you would just say one. When you say a number of, it means more than one. So the subject is plural. This should be are. I'm starting to regret putting this page so in front of the handout. Other questions about page 4? All right, let's look at page 5. Do we have questions about page 5? No? Number 3, spelling error, stayed, S-T-A-Y-E-D. Same here, catched is not a word. This should be caught. C-A-U-G-H-T, caught. Other questions about page 5? Yes. 4. My brother, okay. So the main verb here is looks. Looks like, so you don't need the be verb. Same for the back. Am resembling is correct grammar, but it logically does not make sense. Am resembling would mean that at this moment I resemble, but in another moment I don't resemble. In this case, we are talking about mother and child. That does not make sense. So we should use the same tense and aspect as the first half because the logical relationship is the same. Father, son, mother, daughter. I'm guessing daughter. It could also be son. So if this is simple present, looks, this should also be simple present, resembles. Other questions about page 5? 6 and 8. Okay, let's take a look at 6. While I was surfing the internet yesterday, okay, so to find something is one moment. If you spend more than one moment finding something, you are looking for it. To find is the moment that it is there. So this is that moment, right? They came across a website, so this should be simple past. I found. If they were very bored and were looking for a really interesting website, then it should be I was looking for. Okay? Okay, number 8. While I was doing this, so this is the background situation. This was going on in the background. And Shelley interrupts this background situation by entering the room. So you don't need present progressive or past progressive. You simply need the simple past. Shelley suddenly came into the room. It's a comparison between these two actions. I was working in the middle of doing this. It was happening. It was going on. In the middle, Shelley suddenly came into the room. One, or not one, but like a comparatively shorter time. So the difference is expressed. The background going on is past progressive, but the foreground incident is simple past. Uh, so because the actual event is simple past, uh, everything in the foreground is simple past. Everything in the background is past progressive. So Shelly came in. I didn't know. This is still about Shelly coming in. And then I was concentrating. This is about the background action. And then this is about Shelly again. We're back to the foreground. So this is simple past. She spoke. I jumped. She startled me. Okay. Other questions about page 5? All right, let's move on to page 6. Do we have questions about page 6? Yes. The answers are here. Do we have questions about page 6? Okay, if not, let's look at page 7. Do we have questions about page 7? Yes. Number 6. Okay. So this is telling a story, right? In English, when we tell a story, we usually use simple past. This is called the narrative past or the historical past. So there's no need to use past perfect. You can change all of the uh, regular points in the story to simple past. But if in the middle of the story you jump ahead or you jump back, then we can talk about it. But if there's no special reason, simple past is just fine. So grandfather lived, he moved, he met and married, no had, was born, was born. Now, in the middle of the story, if you jump backwards in time, or sorry, if you jump ahead in time, last week we talked about this. This is the past as the future within the past. You would say would something. The original future is will something, but if you're in the past looking to the future, you would say would something. If you're in the past and you're looking even further in the past, then you would use the past perfect. Okay. Other questions about page 7? All right, let's move on to page 8. Questions about page 8? Did you say 11? 11. While I was visiting my cousin in Los Angeles. Okay, so visiting is spelled wrong. It should be 1T. Yes. In English, we double the ending letter if it is a stressed syllable. 重音结尾才会重复那个结尾的字母。Visit is stressed, unstressed, right? Visit. So you don't need to double the T. Yes, usually that's the general rule. Continuing, this was in the past, was visiting, we went, so this should be 8. Okay, so it says while visiting, right? So this is the background action. Yes, within this part of the story, this was happening in the background. In the foreground, the incidents therefore are just simple past. The order is correct, right? We first go to a restaurant and then we eat. So you don't need to jump around. Other questions about page 8? Okay, let's look at page 9. Do you have questions about page 9? Number 5, let's not leave yet. Okay, let's is always present tense. We will talk about this in a few weeks. Let us means allow us. It is an order. An order is always present tense. So this should be I have been, present perfect. I had been is past perfect, depending on context. So the question was, is it had or is it would? It depends on the context. But in this case, it's the present, so it should be have, present perfect. Okay, so number 4. So again, the second sentence is tells us this is the present. So this should be, I believe the answer I wrote was present perfect, right? Have been studying. And this is because the second half is asking for a break, which means this person is tired. Why are they tired? Because all this time they have been studying. It is emphasizing the lengthy period of time. This should be present perfect progressive is the best answer. So have been studying all night. In what case would you use the past progressive here? If you say we were studying all night, then the next sentence might be something like, so I didn't notice when you texted me. It was in the background, right? Studying all night is in the background. In the foreground, you tried to send me a text, but because I was studying, I did not receive the text. In this case, I am not emphasizing the length of time. I am not emphasizing how hard we worked. I'm simply saying I was busy doing one thing, so that influenced something in the foreground. Um, th you mean the sentence as it should be written, have been studying? Okay, this sentence, yes. So this is saying that we were doing this in the background and that had some kind of influence on whatever is happening in the foreground. My example was we were busy studying, so we didn't get the text. There could be other possible events in the foreground. Right, because he's or this person is asking for a break because they are tired. Yeah, so it's emphasizing the effort. Other questions about this page? Page 9? Number 9. Okay. Uh, this question is interesting. Remember, our textbook is kind of old. So, uh, if you are answering the question from today, we are in the 21st century. This part would be correct. And you would only have to change this part. I had celebrated because the moment the 21st century began is in the past. So it should be past perfect. However, if you are answering this question from the perspective of when the textbook was written, the 21st century had not yet begun. This moment would be in the future. In that case, the answer would be by the time the 21st century will have begun. Future perfect. And so this half would be the same. I will have celebrated. Now, the first half, if you're looking toward the future, you can also use a different kind of future, such as the one that looks like a simple present. By the time the 21st century begins, it is something that will happen. It is scheduled. So you can also use simple present to express the future if the future is planned. Okay, other questions about this page? Number 10. A, are you still on the telephone? Are you okay? So this is also an interesting question because the language has changed between when the textbook was written and now. So in the past, or sorry, let's talk about the present first. In the present, you would say, I am on hold with, or I am holding for. So let's see, are you, so this one would be better be, are you on hold with someone? And then this should be, okay, so the relationship is, let's say I'm a company and you call me. And I say, oh, I have to transfer you to another department. Please hold. In this case, you are on hold with my company, and I, or I guess the other person, am holding for you. So this one is, are you on hold with someone? This one should also be, I'm on hold with the technical department. And here is the verb, I have been holding. This is emphasizing length of time. So it should be present progressive. Present perfect progressive. Now, in the past, when the textbook was written, holding on and holding for would be correct. You only have to change the verb here. Okay. Other questions about this page? Okay. Um, I want to remind you that the practice is part of learning. I will post the answer on Moodle every week so that after you're finished doing the homework, you can check your answers yourself. And by asking questions in class, we can all learn together. So no pressure. It's another part of the lesson. It is not trying to get you or something like that. And so also the practice questions are not graded. Okay, today we're looking at the passive voice. So last week, talking about verbs, we were talking about the logic of a situation and when are you saying this. In grammar, a voice is an attitude between regarding the subject and the object. So most regular English sentences are in the active voice, subject first, object after. But in the passive voice, you would put the object first, and then if you want, you can talk about the subject. Why would you want to do this? There are a few reasons. One, maybe you don't know the subject. You know something has happened. You know something or someone has been affected, but you don't know who or what did the action. So in order to say something like this, you would use the passive voice and put the object first, and then you don't need to talk about the subject. Another possible reason is if the subject is very, very boring. If your subject is people or your subject is something, that doesn't tell us much. Uh, the emphasis in those kinds of sentences would be on the action and the object. Um, and you can skip the subject if you want to. Finally, a third reason you might want to use the passive voice is if you want to hide the subject. If you don't want people to know who the subject is or what the subject is. For example, uh, hmm. Okay, prices were raised this week. I'll talk about the sentence structure a bit later. But here, prices is the object. They went up. If this announcement is being made by the government or the company that raised prices, they don't want you thinking about who raised your prices. So they want to hide the subject. These are the three main reasons why you might want to use the passive voice. If your situation does not fall within these three, it is recommended that you don't use the passive voice. I recommend that you don't use the passive voice. Okay, so what we already have an example here, right? This is what it looks like in practice. The formula is a be verb plus past participle. So if you remember last week, progressive was be verb plus ing, which is also known as the present participle. We'll talk about that in adjectives in the second half of the semester. Perfect aspect is a have verb plus past participle. So the passive voice is kind of putting these two together. It is a be verb plus past participle. The be verb tells you the tense or the time, and the verb in past participle tells you the action. So in this example, the be verb is the past, and the verb is raise. So this tells you that the object in our sentence prices were raised. So somebody or something raised the prices. And then you would have everything else. And everything else can include the subject. Now, I add a little O over here because this is the usual subject, but because it comes after a by, it is the object of this word. So look at this, by us, not by we, right? By us, because this word is the object of by. So it should take the object form. And here is where we get to one of my favorite concepts in grammar. Grammar is a set of hopefully internally consistent logical rules about language. It does not always match the real situation. So in this case, us is the subject, but in grammar, it looks like the object because of where it is in the sentence. We actually saw this in the first week when I said you can use the word they for one person if you don't want to talk about their gender. They looks like a plural. And in grammar, the verb should also match the plural, even if in real life you are talking about one person. If you learn other languages, especially European languages, this becomes even more obvious. In French, every noun is either masculine or feminine, 阳性或阴性. Let me ask you, is a table a man or a woman? This question in real life does not make sense. But in French, there is an answer. And this is an example of how grammar is itself a system that is not always matching real life. So that's what we're seeing here. In terms of the situation, this is the subject. But in terms of grammar, it looks like an object. Okay. So that's the basic situation. There are some exceptions. Sometimes if you want to mention the subject, you don't use the word by, you use another preposition. But I'm very bad at thinking of examples, so I will talk about it when we encounter one. Usually, if you want to mention the subject, you would use by. The subject does not have to be a person, right? I was um, hit by a car. In this case, be verb plus hit in past participle. Hit is the same in all three. Hit, hit, hit. Past, present, sorry. Infinitive, past, and past participle are all the same. Hit, hit, hit. So this is a be verb. This is a past participle. So it looks like the object, a subject, but it's actually object because it is the car hitting me. So you see that the object here, or the subject here, is not a person. It can be a thing. So far, okay? Okay, now, because we are talking about a voice, we are not talking about tense or aspect. You can combine this with all the stuff we learned last week. You cannot use the passive voice if there is no object, right? If your sentence is, I slept well last night. What is the object? There is no object, right? I is the subject, slept is the verb. This is an adverb. This is a time. There is no object here. So this sentence has no passive. If you don't have an object, you cannot form the passive voice. Okay, so you can combine the passive with all the stuff we were talking about last week. Now I am currently using simple past, right? Prices were raised. You can you can combine the passive with progressive. So uh, he was being taught the passive voice. And I guess the subject is probably by his professor. So this is be verb. This is past participle. But it is past progressive. So it's past progressive passive, right? Past, the first word tells you the tense, past. Be verb plus ing is progressive. And then be verb plus past participle is passive. So he is the object. In this case, the subject is his professor. Um, and this action was happening to him. The original sentence is his professor was teaching him the passive voice. Right? So this is the subject. This is the verb. This is the object. And this is everything else. Uh, so the object is put in front. Now it looks like the subject because it is in front. The subject can be omitted. You don't have to say it. And the verb, you have to add a passive structure. So you need one more word, and the word will be a be verb here. And so originally the main verb told you it is progressive with the ing. But now that we have three words, the second word tells you it is progressive, and the third word tells you it is passive. Does that make sense? Okay, so we can do this for the other ones as well. Perfect. She. Well, let's start with at. The lunch had been eaten. So in this case, you don't really care who ate the lunch. You just care that it has been eaten, it is gone. You can't eat it anymore. So I guess like we can add a subject just for fun. So the original sentence was or would be she had eaten the lunch. Usually we wouldn't say the lunch. Okay, you know what? To avoid confusion, let's change this to sandwich. Okay, that should be more clear. So the original sentence, subject, past perfect, object. Now we move the object to the front, and we need another word to tell us it is passive. Had in the past, this is past. Had plus past participle, this is perfect. And then be plus past participle, this is passive. So it is past perfect passive. Finally, we can also do this with the uh, perfect progressive as well. Yeah. Um, the equipment had been being used for 3 weeks when it finally broke. 3 weeks seems like too short a time. Let's say 3 decades. So in this case, we don't care who was using the equipment. Probably many different people were using the equipment. So this is emphasizing a length of time causing the next event. It is perfect progressive in the passive voice. Past, had is past. Had plus past participle is perfect. Be plus present participle or the ing is progressive. And be plus past participle is passive. So this is past, perfect, progressive, passive. Okay, questions so far? You're not going to see this very often, right? Um, you can make it even longer. You can make it future perfect progressive passive, right? Will have is future, have been is perfect, been being is progressive, being used is passive. When it finally, this should be breaks. Okay, that is this week's lecture. After the break, we're going to do some practice questions. No, you can, okay, so when you design a product, you have to say how long can you use it, right? So this could be that kind of situation. I'm selling you a product and you ask me, how long will it last? Yeah, yeah. And I'll say, oh, it will have been being used for 3 decades when it finally breaks. Something like that. Yeah, yeah. So this is not a common sentence, but it may occur in nature. Hmm. Okay, let's take a short break and you can start doing page 10 during the break if you want. I bet you want some guidance. So let's take a look at page 10. Think about these questions using the passive voice. This looks like the passive, right? Be verb plus past participle. So the meaning of this sentence should be this action is happening to the subject. The confusion is happening to the subject. If this makes sense, then it should be passive. If it does not make sense, then it is wrong. For example, you expect the confusion to happen to the subject, so it should be passive, but in this case, it is progressive. It means, this sentence means, I am causing confusion, and then the rest of the sentence should be to someone by doing something. But this is not what the sentence says. So B would be incorrect. See, this would be a correct example. This thing is causing confusion in me or to me. It is confusing me. So this would be correct. But if it is passive, be verb plus past participle, this is passive, then the confusion should be happening to the subject. And that situation does not make sense for C. This is a bit hard if you are a native speaker of Chinese, because in Chinese we don't use the verb here. We use the adjective. But in English we use the verb. So you have to think, who is causing this, or what is causing this for whom? Okay, let's do the first. There's no first, but let's do this page. Yeah, so I'll give you 2 more minutes to do this page, and then we can compare answers. That feels like 2 minutes. 赖雨辰, could you please help us with number 1? Is A correct? It is good because it is a thing causing confusion for a person. The order is reversed, so we use the passive voice. Good. Is B correct? No, right. It's the exact same sentence, but the verb is wrong. How do we fix B? We change it to A. Is C correct? Return. No. Good. Thing causing confusion in person. This should not be passive. The order is correct. How do we fix it? We change it to D. This is correct. Active. Good. Number 2, Lin Yixuan. Lin Yixuan. Yes, number 2. Is A correct? Yes. Good. Thing causes interest in person. This order is correct, so we do not need the passive voice. Is B correct? Oh, why not? Where is the mistake? So it is a thing causing interest in a person. This order is also correct. This does not need to be passive. So this sentence is correct. Is C correct? Yixuan? Is C correct? No. Good, because again, thing causing interest in person, but now it looks like the passive. It doesn't have to be passive. How do we fix this? We change it to A or B. And is D correct? Also not correct, because here the order is reversed, right? Thing causing interest in person, the order is flipped. This should be the passive voice. Is interested in. Good. Number 3,杨秀安。杨秀安在吗？Okay. Shamira. Is Shamira here? No. Oikawa. Is Oikawa here? Husen? Yes, number 3 is A correct. So the thing is causing embarrassment for the person. The order is reversed, right? This should come first. This should come last. So this should be passive voice. Embarrassed. Okay? Okay, so we have to stop here because we have to do the National Disaster Prevention Drill. For homework, please finish up to page 13, the end of page 13.